that the moment those interest rates drop a little bit, all of that pent up demand for first-time home buyers, right? Those millennials that just been sitting there waiting, they want to buy a property. They realized during the pandemic that they don't want to live and rent in New York City anymore. They want to get out, they can work remotely, and they want to buy something where they have a little bit of land and they can live their life and enjoy it, right? Well, they can't. Because now, with higher interest rates and inflation, their dollar is being stretched, right? The US dollar is being crushed under the weight of inflation. So we got higher inflation numbers than we wanted in January. Even though the Biden administration is basically lying about them, we got higher inflation numbers. And we're seeing inflation also rising in a lot of other Western countries. Spain, France, also seeing inflation going back up again, GDP falling. And you know who actually had higher than normal GDP numbers this past week? Russia. So all of these crazy sanctions that have been a total failure. It's just the proof is in the pudding. It's really, really disgusting how we are being screwed, and they keep playing these games. Anyway, so we have this softening right now in the U.S. housing market, but the softening, you need to be very careful. Don't fall for the games, guys. The softening in the housing market is not a lack of demand. It's like a boiler right now. It's boiling, waiting to explode. You ever see those pressure cookers? I don't know if you ever watch like Top Chef, or I don't know if you've ever used a pressure cooker, but you know, when it's like tight on there and they put the clamps on the side of it, those things always scare me, right? You pop it off, it's gonna shoot off in your face. That's the housing market, okay? We don't have enough homes. We still need 3 to 4 million homes in the United States. And the demand is pent up like a pressure cooker right now. And now we have, according to this Zero Hedge report on Thursday, a surge in mortgage rates now above 7% have sent homebuyer applications to a 28-year low across all age groups. All age groups. So not even just millennials and first-time homebuyers in that section. No, even like baby boomers who were thinking about retiring, maybe getting a new little place out in the country somewhere that they could sort of settle down, all across the board. Right, so mortgage interest rates right now being above 7 put this incredible pressure cooker situation on the housing market. And as they point out, now the spring home buying season approaches. We're heading into April is one of the best times, right, to sell a home. And I don't know about buying a home, but to sell a home, listing a home in April traditionally was like the smartest play you could make. We were selling our home in New Jersey a couple of years ago, and we knew that coming up we were going to sell it. And we thought, we'll do it in June. I said, no, let's sell it right now. So we put it on the market before the other homes popped up on the market. We put ours like in early April, and we ended up getting into a 9-person bidding war. And we ended up selling the home for like $200,000 more than we paid for. It was ridiculous, right? Because April's great. There's all that pent up winter demand, and then the spring pops up and everyone wants to think about moving. They're waiting till the end of the school year. They don't want to move during the school year. So it's a great time. So the average rate for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage climbed for the 4th straight week, reaching 6.65% according to new Freddie Mac data that was released on Thursday. This means that the difficulties for first-time homebuyers right now is continuing. Like we're not seeing a softening. It's continuing. During the pandemic boom, they were squeezed out. Baby boomers were swooping in and buying properties. They wanted to get out of the city, so baby boomers were beating them. They were paying higher than asking price, and millennials couldn't afford it. And people who had cash. So a lot of those cash investors, the older Americans, 50, 60-year-olds, had cash on hand. They were able to swoop right in and buy the properties. And then they're like, oh, great. Okay, I guess we'll rent for another 2 years while we have our first baby. And no one wants to live in New York City. I mean, I've lived there. You do not want to live there. And the typical household income for a first-time home buyer soared to as much as $90,000 in 2022, from about $70,000 in 2019. Even with that increase, the typical household income, even with that increase, now with inflation and these higher interest rates, it's like it's canceled itself out. They've made more money, but the interest and inflation have canceled it out. So we're far from affordability for the masses, according to Zillow this week. When mortgage rates hit 7% towards the end of 2022, according to Zillow, it would take around 10 years for an individual saving 5% of the median household income every month to set aside enough for a 10% down payment on a typical home. 10 years to save in order to buy it. And the supply of entry-level housing remains tight. So again, we have no properties available, and the mortgage interest rates are high, Inflation is still there. So we're creating this real crazy tinderbox moment right now in the housing market. It's a lot different than what we saw in 2008. So guys, just keep your eyes on what happens with these interest rates. I'm telling you,